Hello, welcome to Blacklight on Sports. My name is Charles Hallman,
I'm Mitchell McDonald.
and tonight our guest is Hamline's football coach, Charles Chip Taylor. Uh, coach Taylor is perhaps the longest tenured black football coach in the MAIC. He's been there since 2016, but he's been a longtime football coach at different schools. Got to know him over the years. He allowed me to sit in his practices and his planning rooms, and I really appreciate that. So, welcome, Coach, to our show.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'm a little overwhelmed because I didn't know what to expect coming in, but I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.
So, Coach, let's talk about going from being a player to going to coaching and what made you make that transition.
Yep. So just coming from playing college football, high level of football at Illinois State, and getting a chance to have two different head coaches and seeing different styles, six different position coaches, just wanted to obviously stay a part of the game, and you're competitive, and you want to have an impact on young people is the reason why I got into coaching and how it all kind of developed. So.
Now, I don't know if you know that. I think you might be the only black head coach at a school in Minnesota college and university. And if you're not, you the longest running at that level.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be at Hamline University. President Fanice Miller hired me back in 2016, and Jason Verdugo. It's been a blessing. Obviously we still got a lot of work to do. Not happy. We still got a lot of meat left on the bone at Hamlin. I do. We got a lot of untapped things that we got to get done. But I've been fortunate because there's coaches that'll coach their whole careers and never get that opportunity. So I'm fortunate and blessed to have had that opportunity. So.
A lot of people don't see football beyond Division One, but one thing I'm impressed, the MIAC is probably the toughest conference I've ever seen play outside of a Division One conference. There's no easy team. So talk about coaching in that league.
Yeah. When I got here in 2013 from Bucknell, I really, and that's a mid-major 1AA. Well, I guess they call it FCS now. It's 1AA when I played. I thought there were a lot of athletes in this league that could have played in the Patriot League. I did, and I still feel that way. So it's a great league. The head coaches in this league are very good, very talented, and it's one of the best Division threes in the country. So you are right. So.
Talk a little bit about your plight as a player, and then how you got into coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess you really should start back. I mean, if you really want to go back, I was an outside kid. So, I mean, I was always running around with a Penn State football. Thought I was going to go to Penn State, and obviously wasn't good enough or big enough or fast enough to go play at that level. Um, you know, there was a guy that was a quarterback my junior year, Wayne Riley, who I actually just saw last week at Penn Relays. We get together every year. He went to Illinois State on a football scholarship. He was a quarterback. The next year, I became the quarterback. Had a solid year and was able to earn a scholarship to Illinois State. And then the year after, we actually had one more guy from our high school. And Illinois State did not recruit New Jersey, so it was just a connection from the defensive coordinator at Illinois State knew the offensive coordinator at my high school, and that was the connection. So just being a quarterback in high school, you usually should be one of the better players and got leadership abilities. And then when I got to college, like I said, I saw two different head coaches, and I thought one of them was really good, and I thought the other one was, just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to just pull, from at the time it wasn't cool. The coach that brought us in that left, but that's part of the business. And we had another guy come in, and it actually kind of made me say, man, if I ever got into coaching, you could do it in a way where you're really developing and pouring into young people, and it doesn't have to be, an aggressive type style of coaching. I mean, you can really back and forth and really try to develop these guys and coach them up. So.
Now, how did you get to Hamlin?
Yep. Again, coaching journey kind of after Illinois State, I went to Valparaiso. So I went there and did 2 years as a graduate assistant, which I was fortunate enough to have my own room at 23, meaning I was coaching the wide receivers at 23 years old, had my own recruiting area actually in Ohio and Michigan. So that was kind of fun recruiting at that level, those kids. I got my first full-time job at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, which is a Division III school. So I've been fortunate to work at all high academic places. I went back to Hamlin from '06 to '09. I did a couple NFL internships in between there. Went to Bucknell, which was out in Pennsylvania. So that was really fun to recruit South Jersey and PA from where I'm from. And then the offensive line coach at Bucknell at the time, Chad Rogosheske, good buddy, actually was texting with him last night because we had an event at the school, and I was saying, hey, do you remember this person? Long story longer, he was the offensive line coach at Bucknell. I was coaching the DBs. He became the head coach at Hamline, which is his alma mater. He's from Columbia Heights. He's from here. Played at Hamline. I played for Coach Dick Tressel, a legendary coach.
Yes.
When Chad came, brought me with him to coach the defense in 13, 14, 15. Didn't expect him to leave as fast as he did. And then, like I said, I was fortunate enough that President Miller, was, I was honored to be able to, step into his role and be the head coach after he left. So,
okay.
And the challenges that I'm assuming doesn't matter what level as a head coach, there's challenges in terms of putting your staff together, in terms of just making sure that all the T's and the I's are dotted and crossed. Talk about just not the so obvious challenges, but some of the things that people don't think about when a head coach is running a program such as yours.
That's a good question. It really comes down to you want to get the right people on the bus, but more importantly, you want to get them in the right seats. That's the real caveat to it. This is since 2016, I'll have, really a full coaching staff, man, where, I got, 5 guys in the defensive room, 5 guys in the offensive room. And, with more people comes more problems too, because now you got to manage all those different personalities. We're not even talking about the players. We're just talking about grown men that you gotta corral and make sure that they know, we're going in this direction. This is why we're doing this, and this is how we're going to do this. And so it's it can be a little challenging, but again, you got to hire good people, and you got to make sure you set a clear vision of what you want and how you want it to get done. And so,
what kind of player do you look for?
Well, smart. You always want smart football players, smart, tough, and guys that are self-starters. That's what we're looking for. Actually, I have 2 coaches out on the road now, one in Colorado and one in Arizona, and those are the criteria that they're looking for. You want smart, tough kids that are self-motivated, and then obviously, you want the certain metrics. But at Division III, sometimes, we're not going to get the same kind of kid the Gophers are going to get, or Minnesota Mankato might get. So we really gotta hang our hats on smart, tough kids and guys that are self-motivators.
We're dealing with the elephant in the room, which is transfer portals and NIL. How much of an impact that's had at your level? Because we know how much of an impact it has at the big schools.
Well, 2 things. I'll start with the portal. I can make an argument, good or bad. Our best football player, Charlie Wilson, last year set a bunch of records, jumped into the portal for a lot of different reasons. Now he's at Whitewater. Where now we have a couple transfers that jumped into the portal that are going to be coming to Hamline. So it goes both ways. I mean, it's just the natural way that college football is going these days. So the portal's a thing. Now NIL's a little different. It has not filtered down all the way to us, but I really do feel like the school that figures it out at Division III first, that's going to be a problem, man, because there's some things that you can do from a craft. You can get really crafty with it and find a way to keep some players around, man, with NIL stuff. So
now, has that changed the way you coach?
No.
That you approach things?
No. It's definitely from a portal standpoint. You be who you are. Again, these players aren't going to care what you know till they know you care about them. I mean, if that makes sense, man. So that's been my personality, man. Develop relationships, make sure they know we care about them, and then we can coach them up hard. From a portal standpoint, if a kid feels like it's a better opportunity, then he's got to go. You don't be mad. You never be mad at him. I wasn't mad at Charlie. I recruited Charlie Wilson to Hamline. He didn't pick Hamline. He went to Bethel first. Didn't like it. Came to Hamline. Tore it up for 3 years, and then from a financial standpoint, it's a little bit better for him to go to Whitewater. And I remember having a hard conversation with Mom, and she was almost in tears. I said, "Listen, I get it, and like he got to go. He's got to go." So no, it doesn't change the way I coach. No.
Okay.
But still, it's got to be uncharted waters in some respect, because there's no set and clear-cut rules or regulations. Almost you're making it up as you go. And just, I can imagine that you pulling your hair out trying to do try to run a team when you don't know who's going to come back
Correct.
year from year.
It makes it tricky. You got to not almost, you're re-recruiting your roster every year.
Okay.
You know, you're re-recruiting every year and checking in, making sure guys are okay. You know, we had a linebacker from Wisconsin that, you know, he was thinking about jumping in the portal and had to re-recruit him and just say, listen, you might want to think about starting over somewhere else. The only thing that I have an issue with is I don't know what it's teaching the young people. You know, when things don't go your way, there's a little adversity. I can just run somewhere else. So that's the only thing where it's just like, man, I'm a little bit apprehensive on, you know, just being 2 feet in and always being in the portals. Just it's got to be the right kind of young person that fits Hamline University.
So it's changed in that respect, but your philosophy hasn't changed.
Correct. Philosophy doesn't
Gotcha,
change.
gotcha.
Just you know, just want to make sure these young people know that grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's not. So.
Now, Hamlin had gone through some leadership change. The president hired you, and I got a chance to talk with her. Very lovely lady. It's moved on.
Yep.
How that affect you and your job? Because again, that's administration, and they brought, you know, you was brought in by someone else.
Sure.
You know, does that happen? Do you feel that you have to do anything to prove that you have the job and that you should stay in that job?
That's a fair question. I would say I put enough pressure on myself that I feel good about what my approach is. You know what this should look like. You know, we have a great interim president right now. Dr. Murray's doing a good job. I'm trying to, you know, bring the whole Hamline community together. Haven't had a lot of interaction with her. I mean, I've known President Miller since 2015, so her and I we were really close. But you know, I think Dr. Murray's going to do a good job of, you know, leading Hamline into the new wave. And you know, I put enough pressure on myself that, you know, I've been around this thing long enough to know what it looks like, what it should look like, what you need to win, and you know, they've done everything, you know, for them. They've done everything that to help us out. So it's up to us to get the guys in the right position, and obviously our players got to make plays. So
Now you're more than a football coach. I've seen you at boxing matches. I know you like. So what other sports that you get a chance to watch and enjoy when you're not running a program?
Sure. Well, again, boxing. You and I have ran into each other at least 3 times down at the Armory. Love boxing. Boxing is there's no hiding in boxing. You can't hide. There's 2 guys and one's gonna win and one's gonna lose. You ain't hiding on a football team, basketball team, soccer team. You can hide a little bit on the bench. You can't hide in boxing.
True.
So I love boxing. I was just out at Penn Relays. It's one of the biggest track meets in the country, man. Out in Pennsylvania at University of Penn. That's always fun. You know, I grew up. South Jersey is a big track state. Carl Lewis is from my high school, so track was always kind of at the forefront. So I was able to go watch the Penn Relays.
What's your high school again?
Willenboro High School. Yeah, Willenboro High School in South Jersey. So, so we actually got 2 Olympians out of that high school, Lamont Smith and Carl Lewis. So that's always been a big deal. And golf. I've kind of gotten into golf lately. You know, last summer I've been playing two to 3 times a week. So that's been fun. And I would say that's probably about it.
Now, this is a dead period for basketball. Is this also a dead period for you as well?
So how we break it up is 6 phases. You know, phase 1 is, you know, from January to March. No, it's actually phase 1 is from January to when school starts back in February. Phase 2 is from like February to spring ball. Phase 3 is spring ball, which we just got done April 20th. And we're in the phase 4 right now. Phase 4 is summer workouts. Coaches can't be a part of that. The guys are all self-motivated and doing 7-on-7s and lifting weights on their own. Phase 5 would be training camp, which will start up here August 15th, which I was just working on the schedule today. And then phase 6 is the season, you know, so that's how we break up the year. So yeah, we just got done, and it's I would say it is a dead period for us right now. Sure.
What is it like on a typical game day? Like what, you know, do you meet with the team? You know, how does like everything kind of come into play?
Sure.
All the way from the, you know, beginning to the end.
Well, the guys will get up depending on what time of game it is. The one thing about the MIAC was, you know, Charles brought up is it's a great league, man. They play 1 o'clock games.
Oh yeah.
It's not too, you know, the travel is not brutal.
Yeah.
I've been at some other places where you got to get on planes and buses and you're gone for a while. We usually have a devotional, probably about 30 minutes before the guys eat. Usually we'll eat about 4 hours before game time. So if it's a 1 o'clock game, guys are eating at 9. We'll have a team meeting after the devotional. Team meeting, just kind of touch on a couple of different points. We'll walk over as a team. Our parents do a great job, and kudos to those guys as far as being out and supporting it. They're out there tailgate from about 8 o'clock And then when the team walks in, if it's a home game, they got the bells going and music blasting. It's a good atmosphere for the guys. And then, by that time, they're getting themselves taped, ready to go mentally. Everybody prepares a little bit differently. Some guys like music blasting. Some guys like to be alone. Some guys like to take a little bit of a nap before a 1 o'clock game. And then, we start our pregame and then we get ready to roll. So.
Okay.
I've always, like I said, I appreciate the fact you allowed me to be embedded with the club and allow me to be in those meetings, be in those training sessions, because, you know, as I shared with you before, there's coaches that won't let you get close to being in a room with your players, with their players, or with their other coaches. The only time you're gonna talk to them is when it's a formalized environment. But you have allowed me to be, to sit there and listen, knowing that I'm not going to use half the stuff that I see, and the rest of the stuff I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. But I mean, has any other journalist has ever asked to be embedded in your planning, especially preparing for the season?
No, I mean we appreciate it. We appreciate the coverage. I remember the first time I met you in 2016. You said, can you come out and interview a couple guys? And we're just appreciative of that. Man, I'm appreciative of our relationship. How it's grown, what you guys do here. Puts lets people know what's going on at Hamline. So I appreciate that. But no, you guys are the ones that have come in, and you guys always got an open door. And I don't think people understand how hard it is to win a football game on a Saturday. So now you kind of see that whole process, the genesis of it from August to when our first game against Crown will be September 7th at 6 o'clock at night. So you're always more than welcome.
I appreciate that.
Are there any moments that stand out in your particularly at Hamline that are very memorable?
Yeah, a couple. I'd say when I got the call from Mr. Verdugo that he's going to go with me as a head coach. I mean, I remember what that felt like.
Yeah.
I'd say I remember calling my first game as a defensive coordinator. How nerve wracking that was against Minnesota Morris. We're winning the game 41-7, and they come out at halftime and they just start throwing the ball up to this one kid, man, and it wasn't good, man. We ended up holding on to the game, but I was like, this is rough, man. So I remember that. Probably remember calling my first, coaching my first game as a head coach at Hamline in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty memorable. And then I'd say beating Gustavus in 2016 was a big deal. That was a big deal, man. Hamline hadn't beaten them since 10 years, and their program is doing really well right now. So we're playing catch up a little bit, but that's a memorable Saturday, man, back in 2016. So
we both was at the historic game where there was two head coaches of color in the league going against each other. Unfortunately, that hadn't happened since. But just in terms of, do you get a chance to coach against another head coach that looks like you?
No. And actually, if everybody's not familiar, they're talking about Coach Ware, who was at Macalester as an interim, and good buddy of mine. Good buddy. That's my golfing buddy. We golf Friday mornings. He's been around the block. I mean, he's a good ball coach. I was, again, secretly, right, my ties are with Hamline, but I was really wanting and hoping, that he would have gotten that job at Macalester, but they went a different route for whatever reason. We don't know all the ins and outs. But no, man. I mean, the MIAC is myself and everybody else. So
How did that experience feel when you were on the field and you looked across and you did see somebody that looked like you that was also in charge?
Yeah. Well, if I'm being honest, I'm mad we lost the doggone game. Okay, that's what I really want to talk about. But that guy beats me up on the golf course and they beat us on that game, man. So I'm still a little bit upset about it. But it was cool. It was a historic moment. Actually before that game happened, I called the old head coach that was at Macalester, and I can't remember his name. You might be able to help me. I think it was Don Henderson.
Don Hudson.
Don Hudson.
Excuse me, yeah. Don Hudson. I called and before Coach Ware had ended up being in that position, I called and said, were you the first black, or am I the first? 'Cause I wasn't sure, and he said he was the first black head coach at Macalester in the MIAC. So, I got a chance to talk to him before he passed, and Talked to his wife. It was funny. I called and the wife said he's not coaching again. He's like 80 years old, so she thinks I'm calling to see if he wants to coach. And I said, no, I'm just trying to do a little history because I don't know the history of Minnesota that well. So it was kind of cool being able to talk to him. And then obviously when that game happened, Kiwan and I being able to take a couple pictures before the game. Charles, you were there. Actually, I think you took the pictures. Now that I think about it, took some of them, and it was good. Like I said, so.
Always offer our guests an opportunity to speak on anything you want to speak on that you want to share with our viewers and our listeners. Our goal is to introduce, if they don't know, people of color in positions like you are, because we don't get a lot of play in that regards. And it's very important that the spotlight will be shown on you, and not just when things are good, but making sure that everybody knows the challenges and the highs and the lows that you have to go through. And, because it's Division III football, but it's still football. And you have to, as a head coach, you got young men that you are responsible for and a staff that you're responsible for. And being the person of color doing that has to be challenging, because I can imagine you made some decisions that wasn't popular, and I don't know if you ever got some blowback, but I'm pretty sure you got some blowback, and you had to deal with that as well.
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny you bring that up. Had to put a kid, and again, doing this for 21 years, and you don't see a lot of, you don't get into this. Well, I didn't get into this profession to kick kids off teams. Like, you never want, that's the last thing. But it was interesting. I got a text on my phone out the blue from a young man that we had to part ways, and he thanked me. He said, "Coach, that was the best thing that ever happened to me." And that was kind of powerful, man. Like, he was very appreciative of, at the time he didn't like it, but he was very appreciative of that experience. And I had the support of the administration because they had known what was going on. But just kind of watching his growth and development, man, it really made me say, man, sometimes you got to make hard decisions, and you got to, know why you're doing it. We're really here to try to shape young people. And yeah, you want to win games. I get it. Our job depends on winning and losing. I understand that. I know what I signed up for, but if you're not in this to pour into young people and to develop them, and, when they graduate and they come back and you see them with their families and they're doing good, and, and graduation day's coming up on Saturday. That's one of the main reasons why you get into it, to go into a young man's house as a junior in high school and then see him come to your school and do 4 years and graduate. Oh, that's the best part of it. Besides game day and winning, that's the best part of college coaching. So,
you also done a couple of coaching internships with the NFL. Talk about that experience.
Sure. What teams? Yeah, what teams did you work with?
Back in 2008, I was fortunate enough. I knew a guy with the Arizona Cardinals that we had worked some summer camps together with, Rick Courtwright. God bless him. I love Coach Courtwright to death. I actually texted him a couple of days ago to see how he's doing. He's kind of out of the business, but he saw me working at a camp and said, "Chip, if I can ever help you," which sometimes you don't know if you don't know if you believe people when they say things like that. He didn't know me from anything, but just from watching this, watching me work with the group at the camp out in Naperville. It's called Offense Defense Camp. That was 2008, and I was able to be with the Cardinals for 3 weeks and sitting in a room with Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden and Kurt Warner and Edgerrin James, and just kind of watching how pros worked at 28 years old. That was beneficial for me to see. Oh, that's what a meeting should look like. Oh, that's how players should show up. It was just really good to see that experience. The next year, Todd Haley was the offensive coordinator with the Cardinals. He became the head coach with the Chiefs. So I stayed in touch with the running backs coach who he took. I actually spoke to him this morning, Mo Carthan. You probably remember Mo Carthan's name. He played for the Giants, a couple of NFL championships teams. He was like, "Hey, you want to come back out?" So I went back out there, and actually was in River Falls. First time I'd ever been actually to Wisconsin was when the Chiefs had me out in 2009. And then it's all about relationships, right? Some guys are out of the league. So, at that age, 28, 29, you want to coach in NFL. That was my aspiration. But sometimes it's like I tell our players, life's about timing. Life is about timing. There's going to be coaches who coach 40 to 50 years that never get an opportunity to be a head coach. I've had an opportunity to be a head coach. I might not have an opportunity to coach full time in the NFL. It's just the way life works sometimes. So did that. And then had last time did the internship was 09. Then, I got to Bucknell and I got here, and, life gets a little busy. And I said, you know what, I need to use some connections and really reach back out and try to, just get back in the circuit. There's one head coach that I admire, I just really admire Mike Tomlin. So again, I'm a little bit older now. So last year, I called their running backs coach who I knew from back at Ball State when I was at Valparaiso, Eddie Faulkner. picked up the phone. I said, hey, man, how do I kind of get back into the internship? And he said, send me your stuff. And he got it in front of the right people. And I was able to spend a week out with the Steelers last year. And that was very beneficial, man, to be around Coach Tomlin. He spent every morning I was out there, he spent 30 minutes with me, just let me just fire questions at him and ask him about the business and what he's looking for in coaches and how he evaluates coaches and players and leadership. It was good, man. It's nothing mystical about why that guy wins. He's really, really good at his job. He can command a room, how he runs his meetings, how he handles players, his messaging. It was just really good to be out there for that week. So yeah, so I was having a chance to do it. The Cardinals, the Chiefs, and then the Steelers last year. So
okay.
Yep.
Well, that's good. Well, Chip, we thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to come in and talk with us. I know the last time we were supposed to got together, but that was my fault. You forgot about the national championship game.
So, like I said in the beginning, I really appreciate we appreciate the platform at Hamline. Thank you very much for doing this, and I think the work that you guys do. This is the first time I'd ever come across a paper like this. I don't. Maybe I didn't pay enough. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention at Valparaiso or Bucknell or Rose Hallman. Maybe they didn't have those. Maybe they didn't have those lanes. So, for you to reach out and want to be a part of what we're doing, this is easy. This was. I'm very appreciative to come out here and do this. So, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being with us today on Blacklight on Sports. My name is Charles Hallman.
I'm Mitchell McDonald.
And tune in again.